Hello, boils and ghouls. Welcome to episode 190 of Dads from the Crypt. I am Jason of the Dead. Today, I'm joined by Amondo's reanimated dead flesh and Bub 2.
He already did the kind of zombie sound, so I can't really just do that again.
You could have jumped onto that.
You could have done the salute.
That's
do your zombie salute. There you go. We've already gone full Zed mode. We are talking Day of the Dead for its 40th anniversary. And again, as part of our ongoing Fright Rags partnership, they have some wonderful Day of the Dead shirts, really cool ones. Go check them out. Which also means it's time for another giveaway. So make sure you're a Dads from the Crypt Patreon subscriber. Also, if you want to give us a review and send an email, screenshot the review to dadsfromthecrypt@gmail.com, please do so. I don't have my calendar up in front of me, but this will come out on May 19th, which means we will do our drawing on the Sunday after May 25th. So be sure to get your make sure you're registered for that to win I believe it's $15 Fright Rags digital gift card. And with that, let's get right into it because I think we have a lot to talk about. We're talking again Day of the Dead, which came out July 19th, 1985, the third of the Day of series. Jody, give us a plot synopsis.
All right. So 7 years after Dawn of the Dead, we see that the world is basically finished falling apart. Things were falling apart quite a bit during Dawn. By this point, there's just small little pockets of humanity still left. The societal structures have all collapsed. And so now people are just basically hiding. And we spend our time here with a handful of scientists and soldiers who are living in a secure underground, like bunker type situation. The scientists are trying to both find a cure, a cause for zombieism, but also trying to figure out if they can domesticate these zombies, trying to figure out what makes the zombies tick in a mad scientist kind of way. The military is there, supposed to be protecting everybody, but really they're just wanting to kind of run things. You know, it runs the gamut. There's a spectrum. There's some decent guys, but then there's also people who are using this to grab their own power. We spend our main time with a scientist named Dr. Sarah Bowman. She and her boyfriend, Private Miguel Salazar, and radio operator and helicopter pilot, they're all trying to find additional survivors. But instead, they just find a whole bunch of zombies because they're everywhere. And they go back to the base underground. And they find out that the officer who has been in charge has died. And now there is a new guy in charge named Rhodes. Also, Dr. Logan, who was one of the scientists down there, is spending his time trying to domesticate zombies and train them and get them to reconnect with who they were before they died. And in doing so, he's also feeding them the corpses of other dead soldiers. Which is not something that the military is particularly cool with when they find it out partway through. And Captain Rhodes, who I mentioned before, he really hates this whole like domesticating zombies, experimenting on the zombies thing. And there's a lot of tension there. He eventually declares martial law and that anyone who questions his orders basically should be shot. And so he also threatens that he might abandon them and leave the scientists to deal with the dead on their own. So Sarah gets with John and Bill, and they tell her like they don't really believe in what she's trying to accomplish, what the scientists are trying to accomplish. They say things like the zombies are a divine retribution against all of humanity for their sins. And he basically like, we should just leave. We should get out of here. We should go fly to an island. There is no fixing any of this. So let's just escape and do the best we can with the time we have. But some of the scientists don't want to leave, especially Dr. Logan and his domesticated zombie Bub, who actually, retains some of his humanity. He can remember things. He can do things like a person. He's not just shambling around brainless like a lot of the zombies are. Rhodes is not impressed with Bub, though. So during a roundup of some of the zombies, the zombie escapes, started killing some of the soldiers. Miguel gets bitten by one of the zombies, and Sarah has to amputate his arm. And Rhodes says, we're done with the experiments, kill all the captive zombies. We're not going to do anything else. We're not going to help you anymore. And so later they go to find some medical supplies where they find that Dr. Logan has been experimenting on other soldiers that have died and basically letting them become zombified and using them for experiments. And Dr. Logan has pretty much drifted into insanity. He's gone crazy. And so they decide it's time to leave. Well, Rhodes finds out that Logan has been feeding dead soldiers to the zombies. And so he gets furious. He kills Logan, seizes the remaining scientists, takes all their weapons. He attempts to force the helicopter pilot to fly him and the remaining soldiers away from the base, and he refuses to do it. And so Rhodes is just, at this point, gone nuts. He's killing people. He's anyone who defies him in any way. Back in the laboratory, though, Bub manages to use his new intelligence to escape from his restraints, and he finds Dr. Logan's corpse, and he mourns his instructor. And so, again, we see that humanity in Bub. Then he picks up a pistol to go get revenge. So more humanity, because that's another side of humanity. Miguel has completely lost his mind at this point. He heads to the surface, and he basically opens up the perimeter fence, letting in hundreds of zombies. And they surround the missile elevator platform, and they begin tearing at him. He activates the elevator controls, lowering the zombies into the complex. Rhodes leaves the men behind to be killed and runs into Bub, who shoots him in the stomach in an act of revenge, gives him a sarcastic salute as Rhodes runs into a pile of zombies who tear him apart like a piece of taffy. And in the end, John, Sarah, and Bill make it to the chopper and make their escape.
All right. Thank you, Jody. Mondo, start us off. What do you think of this movie?
There's definitely a get to the chopper joke there, but
oh yeah, for sure.
I can't do the accent, so I'm not.
There's a lot of movie. I didn't have time for jokes because there's just a lot of movie.
Yeah, this is my favorite Romero film. I like it as much as I love Dawn of the Dead and the setting of the mall and how great it is. I think this one as a story is just there's times it's heart-wrenching, and I think the writing of the characters is also pretty damn good. I mean, just the way they treat the female doctors. I can never remember freaking names for movies, so I apologize.
If only I painstakingly created a Google sheet to outline all the characters and their names for each episode.
If only I pulled that up my second monitor beforehand, that'd be fantastic. Point taken, Jason. I think what happened is you used to link it in the chat, and now you don't, so I forget before we start. But
it's the same document every time.
Yes, I'm not removing blame from myself. I'm just saying that I forget because I'm a forgetful guy. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're Jason. Your Excel talent is commendable, and your PowerPoint skills are fantastic. You're just a great guy with Microsoft Word, okay? And and with the Microsoft suite of applications. Feel better now? We good?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That actually was very affirming. I appreciate that.
Okay. And I sound sarcastic, but I'm actually not lying. You make your spreadsheet for that's pretty badass. It works. But I like how they write her as a very strong female character, and at no point is she. I mean, I hate to use this word, but she's never. A lot of times when you see female leads in these movies, especially in horror movies, they're written to be overly emotional, like your stereotypical what your average cis male thinks of what a female would be. But they especially for being the early 80s, they wrote her completely different, being a very strong. She's a doctor, but she acts almost like a soldier with a lot of the ways in her and you can tell, but you can still tell, like there's a great scene at the beginning when she's talking to Miguel, who's talking about how he is very basically at the end of his rope with all the stress and basically suffering from PTSD at this point. And she kind of mentions, she goes, well, and she's kind of comfort him, but he kind of makes a mention like, well, I know you're dealing with this too. Like, but she's trying to be the strong person. And I think her character is really fantastic in this whole one. And then you have on the other side, the very misogynistic captain and his group of, I forgot the guy's the heavier set guy, but I called him Dollar Store Walter Sobchak, because he looks almost like John Goodman from The Big Lebowski. Yeah. And then I really like the dynamic with the doctor, because it's a question of like ethics. He's discovering how to basically maybe reintegrate these zombies into society, or pull emotions from them from their previous lives, and that's commendable. But the way he's going about it is not necessarily ethical. And it almost reminds me of when people talk about like going back to the 1940s with the Nazis and Joseph Mengele and all. Like, it's kind of crazy that today we know how to treat frostbite because of all the immoral and plain evil experiments that they did. So it kind of begs the question, is like, is all this research he's doing, maybe it can be for good, but by what, but why are we, is it okay that we're using these methods to get there? I thought that was a really good angle. And man, I feel for Bub when Bub walks over to his corpse and goes to hand him the leash. Like, I was like, oh, and then like you said, Jody, when he just you see him just, and it's like how sad he is over the death of this person that's basically been his keeper, almost like a dog in a way. That was very, very impactful. And another piece I kind of like too, as at the very end, you have the evil captain who he runs away from his team, abandons them. Not only abandons them, locks the door so they can't escape with him, because I think they never talk about this, but I think his mentality is, if they're worried about those guys, they're not going to come after me. And movie aside, the fucking gore in this movie is chef's kiss. I completely forgot just how great the effects are. Shout out to Greg Nicotero, and shout out to John Harrison for just a wonderful score in this film. And I've said it before, it's almost a tragedy that Harrison did Creepshow and then did this movie and did these two just bangers, as the kids would say, of scores, and then he had to get into directing, of course. But, be a big fan of Day of the Dead, and I really think it's anybody who hasn't seen these films, definitely start with Night of the Living Dead and work your way through the trilogy. I will vouch for Land of the Dead too. I haven't watched it in years, but I really enjoyed that, and kind of the theme with Bub bleeds into Land of the Dead, where you have, I think it called Big Daddy, was that they called the main zombie in Land of the Dead, when he's becoming more and more aware of what's going on and realizing that, hey, like, the humans are mistreating our kind and we need to fix this. And I think it's really cool when you go back and watch this, when you see how it progresses into Land of the Dead, which came out 20 years later. But I highly recommend. I think it's the best of Romero's, I guess, the Dead trilogy, or whatever you want to call it, the Dead universe. Yeah.
All right, Jody.
Yeah, I was a late arrival to this movie because when I was younger, I watched Night of the Living Dead, I watched Dawn of the Dead, but for some reason, I guess I just never heard anyone talk about this one. So I didn't watch this movie for the first time until a couple of years ago. And it really is. It's the culmination of what Romero has been building towards in a lot of the other movies. It's very bleak. Like there's not much hope in this version of the zombie world. Like, the best you can hope for is maybe we can go to an island and not get killed for a while. Like that's like best case scenario. But they're still trying, and they're trying through all of these ways that are, pretty awful sometimes. Personalities are getting involved. And again, you've got Rhodes, who is full of big talk and he's threatening people, but when it comes down to it, he's the one who's a coward and runs away, which sounds like a lot of people who do a lot of big talk. And I just feel like there's it's not an optimistic view of humanity. Like by far, Bubs is the most sympathetic character in the movie. And I like some of the other characters, and they're good characters, but like nobody's good by this point. And I think that's what Romero was trying to get down to, is we're getting people down to like their base level. There was still some hope that maybe we could fight them back in the other movies, but by this point there isn't any anymore. And people are just their selfishness and their weirdness is coming out in some awful ways. Like Mondo said, insane gore effects. This is Tom Savini and Greg Nicotero kind of at their peak. The zombies, just even the way the zombies look, like that's how zombies look now. Like in my mind, if I picture zombies that look a lot like the ones from Day of the Dead, because that's what everyone else did after this. Dawn of the Dead, like the blue looking zombies, they're fine, but it's Tom Savini kind of getting started at that point. But then by the time we got here, his vision's much more fully realized, and you get some really cool effects. Rhodes' death is obviously like one of the highlights, but there's just so many cool scenes, and cool makeup and stuff. Greg Nicotero is actually in the movie, playing a part. You get to see his little severed head sitting around for a while, so that's cool too. But yeah, no, this is one that I guess I didn't know how good it was, and I wasn't hearing a lot of people talk about it at the time. But I feel like maybe it's coming into its own a little bit over time. Like maybe people are starting to reevaluate it. I know it got pretty bad reviews when it first came out from a lot of people, but part of that, I know I had read that George Romero originally had like $7 million to make this movie, but there was a stipulation that he made it an R-rated cut, and he was like, I don't know, man, I got to do this movie with ripping people apart and all the zombies and blood and everything. And so they said, okay, you can make your X-rated cut for half the money. And so he had to really scale back and change what he was wanting to do with it. But I think it works. I think that by having that group of people in that one location for 90% of the movie, and that one location being so claustrophobic and everyone having to just deal with being together, I think it really works to show, the kind of the theme for all these movies, that people are just as bad as the zombies. And I feel like this has that message just as much as the other ones do, or more.
Yeah, thank you, Jody. Yeah, I'm very much on par with both of you. I distinctly remember the first time I saw this was actually at a Undead Film Festival where they showed it was anything with a zombie or a vampire. So remember, they had like 2 hours of shorts, which I loved. And then they showed, I think it was From Dusk Till Dawn, and then this was like the final movie, like the midnight movie. And I'd never seen it before. To see it on a big screen for the first time, because one thing we haven't talked about is that very opening scene where Sarah, the doctor, is in the room and she kind of goes up to a calendar. And I never put this together, that this movie takes place over Halloween into the 1st of November, which is Day of the Dead. I don't know if I'm the only
I
one
put that together
that
just now. I put that together when you said it.
Exactly. Anyway, but she goes up to the calendar, and then all of a sudden all these hands pop out, and it's a huge jump scare. And like, that is probably one of the biggest jump scares I've ever seen, like in the movie theater. I like leapt out of my seat for that part. Mondo, you're on mute if you're trying to talk. But yeah, I think I haven't seen Dawn of the Dead that many times. I find it to be a little overlong, especially in the middle. There's a lot of like people running around to do this and that. I mean, there's parts that I love, and the effects are amazing, and I respect it a ton, but it's not my favorite. And I kind of rewatched it again for this, and I'd watched Night of the Living Dead within the last year or so, and in both of those, like we're saying, the female lead, who is kind of one of the main characters, they're both very whiny and hysterical all the time, which it's fine. There are people like that, but it was just so refreshing to see a strong character that is she's really in charge. She's the most put together, composed person, probably in almost the entire series, not just the female characters, but just in general.
That's one of the other things I read is that Romero kind of was apologizing for Barbara being so useless in Night of the Living Dead by having
I don't blame someone. I don't blame someone that would have a breakdown during that situation. I probably would, but it is nice to at least have a contrasting character in this movie, especially as your center.
They don't really show her first, like really being emotional until she sees the severed head of the person. I forgot the soldier's name that dies at the beginning when they put the grave for. That's really the first time you see her get really emotional over something, which I thought was also made that scene even more impactful.
Yeah, and this is probably again, the first two are very innovative and groundbreaking, iconic. But if I'm gonna put on any one of the three, this is the one I'm putting on. Is that so many ideas through the dialogue, the group dynamics, the toxic masculinity on display, and just kind of people putting the stresses like really ratchet up and all this in the situations. These people are stuck in a bunker together, not getting sunlight, not getting their B12. You just imagine how desperate that must all be. And so there's a lot of interesting ideas being thrown around. The effects are just amazing. And a lot of them aren't like quick effects. Like while watching Dawn, a lot of it is just like quick gunshot. Here, like it lingers. Like you see body cavities, just like stuff just falling out. It's just so cool. So it's the kind of stuff you just really haven't seen much since in that way, just kind of languishing in it. And again, that's Savini. And then Nicotero is actually credited as Savini's assistant on this. Is like he was like 21 when this first came out.
I forgot they both worked on this one. I feel bad. One of my favorite scenes is the shovel through the mouth. And then as they're running away because they didn't kill the brain, you see the eyes darting back and forth, and they just focus on that for like a second, but I love that shot so much.
Right. And so I was watching some behind the scenes stuff, and that's actually so in Dawn of the Dead, there's a scene where one of the characters hits one of the bikers with a machete, and you see the machete go into the head. The way they did that was there's a cutout in the machete, and they did it in reverse, but he didn't think it looked as good as it could have. So he did the shovel part the exact same way, where it's actually a cutout shovel, and they're just pulling it off of the guy's head, and then playing reverse, so it looks like you're like jamming it down. So you can see Savini like improving upon all the work that he did before, and now that he's had like a couple years to perfect it.
This is the kind of movie that I love behind the scenes stuff on too, because I love seeing how they pulled it off. It's like magic tricks,
Exactly. And then I love that end sequence where they're running through the caverns, and it's all kind of like moonlight in the background. It's almost a little bit like Creepshow, which is interesting because the cinematographer on this is Michael Gornick, who did Dawn of the Dead. I don't think he did Creepshow though. So maybe he might have. I have to double check. But it's very much right. He directed Creepshow too, so he might have DP'd Creepshow 1, but it's still got that kind of flair with like the bright colors in the background.
Yeah, if I can pull my Lucio Fulci card here, that when they're going to the cavern at the bottom, I was 100% thinking of the Beyond. That's why I think about 90% of the time, anyways. Like at any moment of the day, I'm probably thinking about the Beyond. So.
And then I totally forgot to mention that hopefully tomorrow I'm interviewing both John Harrison, Greg Nicotero, and Michael Gornick about the movie. Knocking on wood, that still happens since it's going to be tomorrow, but look out for that on our feed in a couple days. This is just for as bleak as it is, they still make it fun though. I don't know, I'm not quite sure. Like the music has like a little bit of Caribbean beat to it, which is kind of fun. Especially considering like at least the American version of Dawn of the Dead is a very generic score. I know there's the Goblin version, which is much better. At least as far as the American one, it's a very generic score. And Night Living Dead is a very like royalty free, whatever you can find in the library kind of stuff. But to have like a really consistent score in this one, I think really helps as well.
And it's partly scored like an action movie. Like it's got that kind of like drive to it, that keeps things moving.
Yeah, it's very much like The Thing.
I did read they used Laurie Cardell was in an episode of Stranger Things, and in that same episode, they used part of the score for this in that same episode, which I thought is that stuff just gets me excited.
Yeah. Yeah, and also the guy who flew the helicopter, he was also in Stream last year. I thought you'd appreciate that.
I saw that. Yeah, I did see that. I like Stream, I think, more than most people did.
Yeah.
If anybody's watching on video, Jody is just frozen in place. Jody froze in the best possible position.
I love the Captain Rhodes performance. He's just so big, and so like you want to hiss and throw things at the screen whenever he's there, but like he leans into it, which is perfect. I love that so much. And he had a nice little career. He has like a cameo in the Dawn of the Dead remake. He has a little bit piece in Pulp Fiction and Wishmaster. Yeah, all around great cast. Yeah, and I do like the trilogy and how like it's very loose in kind of continuity, but like in a way that you don't really have to worry about. You don't have to worry. This isn't really 7 years after the first like thing where like Dawn of the Dead, the movie came out at least 10 years or something like that after Night of the Living Dead, but it's really within like a couple days in movie time.
I think Dawn of the Dead came out in 78. And so 10 years. Yeah, Night of the Living Dead came out in 68.
Yeah, but like they never really give an exact timeline, but it's not like the real time, but you do know like there's a copy of Salem's Lot that shows up in this movie. And obviously if the first one took place in 68, there would be no way that we'd have Salem's Lot. It's just lots of funny, like interesting, like it doesn't really matter, and how the zombies kind of evolve too, and their look and a little bit of how they behave. You're not supposed to think about it too much. You're supposed to have fun with it.
And that's why I think it's actually a really nice jump to Land of the Dead, because behavior of the zombies changes massively in that movie and the way they're actually treating the zombies. Yeah, it's I don't know. I think this one is definitely still my favorite in the series. Although now it makes me want, probably tonight after I take my edible, I'm probably going to watch Land of the Dead and see what happens.
My cat unplugged.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear about that.
Wait, hold on. Jody, your cat did what?
Unplug the router. The router sits right behind my wife's computer behind me, and it stepped on the cord, unplugged the router, everything. So I'm back, and the cat's out of the room.
The cat's out of the bag. This
yeah, I think I saw Land Dead like on TV within like a year or so after it came out. So I don't remember exactly, but I remember liking it.
I remember vividly. There's one scene in there where it's a zombie shoves his hand down someone's throat to rip out their guts, and I remember that being like, coming out in 2005. You really weren't seeing that kind of gore on the big screen.
Yeah.
All you youngsters, I think if there are any of you, the youngsters nowadays are spoiled by the amount of gore they get to see in theaters.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
We'll talk about Final Destination a little bit.
Oh yeah, I do think that Land of the Dead like was hurt a little bit because there was a huge amount of zombie movies coming out around that time. So I think like it's around like 20 days later in the Dawn of the Dead remake and everything. So I'm glad that allowed Romero to make that movie, but I do think that it was a little. If they come out in a vacuum, I think it would have done a lot better.
I'm actually debating rewatching Diary of the Dead as well, and rewatching Survival of the Dead. I remember hating Survival of the Dead, and I remember thinking that Diary had some really good ideas that just weren't executed all that great. But also now I'm 42 and a grumpy old curmudgeon, so maybe I'll enjoy it more because I'm more in the mentality where George Romero probably was when he made those movies.
That's very possible. Also really interesting. Dr. Logan was played by Richard Liberty, who was in The Crazies. He had a big part in that, and he was in Porky's 2 and Flight of the Navigator. So he had some fun roles. But the guy who played Bub, Sherman Howard, who was an episode of Tales from the Dark Side. He was in Lethal Weapon 2, the episode of Freddy's Nightmares, also episode of Seinfeld and The Stand. But he has a huge voiceover career. Look up his IMDb because he was in a lot of video games and cartoons. And the guy who played Bill McDermott, Jarlath Conroy, he was in the David Lynch Elephant Man. He was in the 2010 remake of True Grit, and he was just in Screamboat Willie.
Have you guys watched
it? I haven't seen yet, but I will.
Have you seen it, Jason? I put it on the night. I started watching it. and I love David Howard Thornton, but I literally got through like 15 minutes. I'm like, I just can't do this right now.
I'm still going to watch it eventually. I am approaching all of these public domain movies with such like,
I will give it another
just
shot.
So many...
I'm gonna wait till I have a nice edible and I'm feeling pretty randy, and then I'll give it another shot.
Yeah, there's just so many like regarded movies coming out right now. Like the Evil Stepsister or whatever that is. I still have to sit down and watch that.
Ugly Stepsister.
Ugly Stepsister. Yeah, there's so many of those kind of things right now that like are buzzy that I need to watch.
Oh yeah,
I want to watch Ugly.
Go ahead.
So I wanted to watch Ugly Stepsister the other night, but I was kind of buzzed because we had gone out to see Final Destination when I had some food and some drinks, and I was like, oh god, subtitles. I actually love subtitle movies, but I was like, right now though, I just can't. I can't focus on a subtitle movie. But that's probably gonna be
the mind frame.
Yeah.
The night that we went to see Final Destination, I was noticing at the same time in the theater, I could go Final Destination, I could go watch Clown on the Cornfield, I could go watch Until Dawn. There's like, we got a lot of horror right now. And I was looking at my list for the year, like we've had a lot of really good horror this year. So yeah, it's hard to get me to watch a Screamboat when, there's a lot of other good stuff out there.
Yeah. I saw Sinners for the second time a couple nights ago.
I still haven't seen it. I need to.
So good. Oh, really?
Still my favorite movie. Still my number one of the year.
I think it's my number 2, just by a hair.
I can respect incorrect, but I can respect incorrect opinions every now and again. I'm just kidding.
All right, let's wrap it up on this, and then we'll talk some more Final Destination after the cut. All right, what did we rate this movie? 0 to 5, 5 being the best, 0 being the worst, half points. Jody.
I mean, it's a 5-star movie. Like it's one of those. There's a reason it's a classic, and I'm glad that it's been reevaluated and people are actually giving it a chance now that they didn't give it in 1985.
Mondo.
Same boat. This is I'm in the same Scream boat as Bub 2 over here. Yeah, it's a 5-star. Like it's I think Dawn of the Dead, a lot of people have the most nostalgia for that because just the mall setting is what a perfect place to and the idea of how it's attacking like consumerism and stuff like that. I think a lot of people have the nostalgia for that, but at the end of the day, I think Day is the best film in the trilogy, and probably Romero's best film, just to be honest. And, well, maybe I don't know. Creep Show, it's tight. It's close.
Yeah, I'm the same with you guys. It's a 5. This is just everything's firing all cylinders. The effects, you can't get any better than this. This is like a pinnacle of these kinds of effects. So many great ideas being thrown around. Like again, Dawn of the Dead has some great ideas, but they don't get stretched very far. They're just kind of there. But here we're getting a lot of different things thrown around.
You can definitely tell they're able to really kind of expand upon the zombie lore a little bit. Like I thought the arm amputation was just a brilliant scene, and the fact that he does never at no point does he ever turn into a zombie, but that just kind of adds into the PTSD he's already dealing with. And but I thought that was actually really brilliant. That cutting his arm off saved him from becoming the undead.
So yeah, well, I mean, but he doesn't live very long after that, so we don't even know if it could have or didn't. There's a little bit of ambiguity, I think.
Well, yes and no, because debating, like when you look at like in even in Dawn of the Dead, if you get bit, you're becoming a zombie. You die pretty quickly from it. It's not like it's a prolonged death. Well, I guess you're also looking at the time frame of just 1 day or 2 days. But still, I thought that was cool. I don't want to dissect that one.
No. It is a great effect. So.
The brain attached to all the nerves. That was also one of the coolest like props I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Well, and when it comes to zombie movies in general, because like you were saying earlier, there was a time period where we got just a ton of zombie movies. And so I need a little something more. Like it can't just be shambling around zombies. There has to be more to it. And this movie has meat to it, like there's lore and there's background. There's a lot more going on than just, hey, there's a bunch of shambling dead guys out there.
Yeah. One of the things I do love. Yeah. I know. I'd say one of the things I love about Romero zombie movies is just he always puts like really random things. Like there's like a football player zombie. There's a bride zombie. There's like a marching band. It's so like Americana. It's just there. It's not just random people.
Because
it kind of makes it a little more lived in.
because he just passed, I got the joy of, I didn't have much money, so I couldn't really afford autographs, but I did get to meet George Romero when they did a Fangoria convention in Las Vegas, and this was back in like 2000, I don't know, 2010 or so, maybe even before then. And it was kind of cool meeting him. And he's a tall guy. I didn't realize how tall he was, but just a super, super nice guy that loved chatting with the fans. And it was poorly attended because they did not advertise it at all. But and I just want to mention this because it fits in with the Dawn of the Dead, or the of the Dead world, and it fits in with a recent loss we've had in the horror community. But across from George Romero was next to him were two booths, one with Ken Faree of Night of Dawn of the Dead fame, and one with, and Tony Todd is right next to him. And at one point, again, we're gonna date ourselves here, they had an iPod in between them, Tony Todd and Ken Faree, and they each had one earbud in, and they were kind of just swaying back and forth and smiling to the music. And that's one of those memories that I've always have in my head, because look, they're just like listening to some song and enjoying it together, and it was just really cool to see.
That's awesome.
That's adorable. I love it.
Yeah, but it also, Bruce Campbell also got yelled at by the organizers because he kept just walking around and talking to people because he was bored. And they said, I remember one of the guys like, "Hey, Bruce, we need you to go back to your seat." He goes, "I'm Bruce Campbell. I'll do whatever I want." And he just kept walking and just talking to people.
As is his right.
Yes. All right, let's take a quick break for a shout out.
Hey there, it's Greg Nicotero, and you are listening to Dance from the Crypt.
There's a man. All right, Mondo, give us your song of the day.
All right. This has nothing to do with the movie, but I went to a concert on Thursday, as sometimes as old people actually leave the house every now and again and go see live music. And it was the headlining band was Wayfarer, which is a black metal band from Colorado. I've talked to them about them on here before, and they were just fantastic. One of the opening bands was a band called Witching from Philadelphia, which I've never heard of before. I can't remember now. I have to look at the lineup, but the lead singer and the bass player, a female fronted band, which is also nice to see in black metal, but they fucking blew me out of the water. Like I never heard them before, never seen them, and they just fucking crushed it. So afterwards, I had to go buy the record, buy a T-shirt. I was talking to lead singer, Jackie's her name, and saying how much we love the show. And I was there with my buddy Jason, my other friend Jason, who's my tattoo artist, and we had just the best time ever. So I want to just shout out their record. Witching, their newest record, which is their second full length, is called Incendium. And the song I'm going to pick off here, which I just like the name of, I don't think has anything to do with lyrically, doesn't have anything to do with the Day of the Dead, but it's called Grave Mistake. Check them out and give them some love. They're from Philly. And again, it's always really, I really enjoy seeing bands that aren't like most black metal bands I listen to. It's a bunch of fucking middle-aged white dudes. Like, I'm just gonna be honest, that's just mainly what it is. It's mostly European, so it's cool whenever you see people outside those constraints, I guess, because I think they bring a little bit different flair and vibe to the music. So check them out. Give female fronted black metal a listen.
Nice. You could say many grave mistakes were made by the people in this movie.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for, but the lyrics have nothing to do with it. But yeah, it's good. It makes sense.
All right, Jody, give us some horror news.
All right. Well, since we are in Romero world, I want to bring this one up first. The Monroeville Mall, a place that horror fans need to visit at least once in Pittsburgh. It is the location for Dawn of the Dead, and it has now been bought by Walmart. And they're, I guess, they're Walmart. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but it's probably not good. But there is, if you go to fangoria.com and search for Monroeville Mall, there is a petition going around trying to get them to not do whatever Walmart wants to do. So, I mean, it can't hurt. Can't hurt to try. That's a place that I feel like should always exist because of its importance. So it's also the place of the Living Dead Museum. And there's a lot of George Romero stuff in there. There's a bust of George Romero. For horror fans, this place does not need to be whatever Walmart wants it to be. It needs to be preserved in some way.
Well, fucking Walmart's got enough money to where they could buy any land they want to and construct a new building on it. And all it's going to do is cost an extra 0.25% of their revenue, if that.
Yes.
But of course, it's fucking corporate. Okay. I'm gonna back off, because did you guys hear about United Healthcare, the lawsuit?
No.
No.
They're being sued by their shareholders because after the assassination, I'm not gonna say assassination, fuck that. After the killing of their CEO, they are now have been approving more claims. Thus, they're not
How
making as
dare
much
they?
money. Now they're being
they're
sued
getting
by the
sued for helping.
They're being sued because they're not making as much money because their shareholders feel like they're approving too many claims. Any of you shareholders of United Healthcare that fucking think they're approving too much because it's making your stock price go down, I hope you get some fucking disease and then they fucking deny you coverage.
Our streak of having
disagreement
restricted YouTube videos now continues.
Hey, that's not political. That's not political. That's
I know.
That's humanism.
There you go.
We should
All
be
right,
taking care of our people. God damn it.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk releases. All right, this week we got what we've been mentioning several times. Final Destination Bloodlines came out this 2 days ago.
And we're recording on the 17th, so yeah, it came out on 2 days ago.
Yeah, I saw it on the Thursday night preview, which is my favorite time to go see a new movie because it's just me and a couple of nerds. I think there may be 10 people there, and my daughters went with me. But Final Destination Bloodlines is great. I know Jason and Allison did a little review of it. I haven't listened yet, so I'm not sure if you're on board with this. Are you on the same track?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
Okay, good. Because I really loved it. It's really great. It's a lot of fun. It's got one of the best opening disasters, I think, in the series. It's all about a family this time. I felt like that gave it more impact because the deaths actually felt like they mattered, and people were hurt and left behind. But it's just fun. It's fun. It's still got the same, Final Destination kind of flavor to it, and some of the CGI is still kind of dodgy, like all Final Destination movies. But get past it, move past the CGI, and just enjoy the movie.
I really had a great time with it. I thought it was one of the more fun entries, and I really like how this is kind of opening up a whole new world for Final Destination. Because I heard this is kind of a reboot. They don't want to call it like a remake. It's just a kind of a reboot of the series where they're kind of going with it next. But a lot of fun callbacks to previous movies.
Without spoiling anything, Part 5 closes the loop of the original storyline in a really cool way with the ending of Part 5. And so just kind of branching out away from, they're not talking about Flight 180 the whole time or anything. But the one very consistent thing to this series that is one of the best parts of Bloodline is Tony Todd's final performance in this is just, it's great.
It got me all misty-eyed in the theater because they handle it perfectly. That's all I'll say.
They really do.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw it with a whole bunch of other horror fans that were like invited, we like literally gave a standing ovation at that scene.
That's fantastic. Love it.
Really amazing. What's funny though is I've seen a couple things I'll talk about in the review that aren't terribly spoiler, but I'm sitting there and I saw like the preview where they kind of hinted at what the opening thing was. They don't really show too much.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm looking at the image and I'm realizing, wait, that's supposed to be like the Space Needle, right? And I'm having this realization that, and as I'm watching it, that they don't call it the Space Needle, they call it like the Sky View or whatever, but it's supposed to be the Space Needle.
Yeah.
And I realize, and I turn to a person that says, I proposed to my wife at the top of the Space Needle. If that happens in this movie, I'm going to lose my shit. And then it does. There's a proposal on top of the Space Needle that leads to that kicks things off. And I'm just like, God damn it.
I'm going to assume it went better for you than it did in the movie. I mean, the proposal went fine. It was everything afterwards that went really badly in the movie.
It'd be cool right now if you saw Jason, some breeze of air go through Jason's blinds in the background here.
Well, okay, two more things that they kind of talked about in the after parks. They had some of the producers and whatnot there. So for the Tony Todd scene, they gave him the script of what they wanted to do, and he did it great as always. And they said they do a couple takes and say whatever you want to the audience, because they knew he was sick at the time and that he wasn't going to have many performances left in them. So a lot of what he said in that scene was improvised by him and kind of what he wanted to tell the audience.
I kind of felt like that's kind of the route they went with it, and it's perfect. It was perfect.
It really is.
Yeah. And then piggyback on what Mondo just said about something happening in my feed when they were interviewing directors, because they were actually working on this before COVID. and they decided to give the franchise some time to relax and come up with some new ideas and whatnot. So right before COVID, they were starting to ramp things up again, and then that happened. Everything, and then as COVID was winding down, like, okay, let's start interviewing directors and whatnot. So they had the interview with the people who ended up being directors, but they're doing it in front of a fireplace, and they put the producers on mute. And as the directors were talking, something fell into the fireplace and started catching on fire. And the producers were trying to tell them, but they were on mute. And then like something else fell down from the ceiling. The whole room started catching on fire. It was all obviously all like a fake, reel that they put together where they like had their real, they like matched their clothes. At one point they switched over the video to this pre-recorded thing they did. And I really hope it's like a feature or something on the Blu-ray. They said the producers they don't have it still, but the directors, I'm sure they must keep that somewhere because that's too cool.
That's awesome.
That's cool. Yeah.
The thing
maybe they'll throw that on the 4K release. Maybe they'll throw that on the HD release or something like that. That'd be cool.
I think the thing I appreciated most about it is we just watched through the whole series again, leading up to watching part 6, and you know how the first thing that happens in each of the movies is so like pieced together with you see a little thing happening and a little thing happening, and it just builds up and builds that tension. I feel like every kill in this movie had that. Like almost every single one of them was slow putting the little pieces together, and the tension was so good. Yeah, and great payoffs then at the end of it all. There's some gnarly deaths in this one.
And not to get into full review here, but one of the coolest things are they do a really great job with focusing on the foreground, but shit's happening in the background that just catches your eye and you know something's going to happen. I think that was very, very, very creative.
Yeah. I tend to, in my old man age, I prefer watching movies at home a lot just so I can like be in my comfortable situation. But this movie was really good in the theater because you can see a lot of the more details and stuff.
Yeah,
that's happening in the background. That's setting things up. Yeah,
I saw on IMAX and highly recommend it for IMAX.
Yeah, and it's a good like you want to be getting the same reactions to people around you because there's like some definitely like oh my god moments. So I definitely recommend seeing this in the theater.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of you, Jason. I like going and seeing movies in the theater because I have no distraction. Like when I'm at home, I have dogs and family. I love them all. Yeah, but I'm like focusing on the movie itself.
No, I'm waiting for them to go to sleep and then putting my earbuds in and watching it later at night.
Well, going on with news, since we talked about how much we like this movie, I got good news for us and for everyone else. The movie's making a ton of money. In their opening weekend, they're looking at a $46 million domestic debut. Prior to this, the highest was The Final Destination with 27 million. So this is blowing away any other Final Destination movie as far as what kind of box office it's getting. It's very sad to me that The Final Destination is the one that has the second highest now because The Final Destination is terrible, but not to get in on that. I could go on that one for much too long.
And just their budget was only 50 million, so they'll definitely make their money on it.
Oh yeah, easy.
Which is good. That means
but
there'll be more.
I will say they did a great job marketing this movie too. Like having those log trucks with the ads and the billboards and just all the online stuff I've been seeing. Really well done.
Yeah, I mean to this day, anybody around our age is not driving behind a log truck. We've seen that before.
We know better. All right, let's talk about some other upcoming things. We've got a new Justin Long movie coming called Lice, about a parasitic head lice invasion. Yeah, that's about all we've got about it. It says it's kind of the Breakfast Club meets Lord of the Flies.
What
follows a deadly outbreak of a parasite at a Long Island high school in the 80s.
I'm not gonna lie. You had me at the Breakfast Club meets Lord of the Flies. Like that's.
Oh yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
is Justin Long gonna play a high schooler?
I think he's playing the teacher, but he could.
You know what? It'd be super funny to have him as a high schooler be obviously 20 years older than everybody else, and they just never talk about it.
Did you ever
just give him a backwards hat and call it good?
Did you ever watch the series of Wet Hot American Summer, like the 10 years later or the first day of camp, where they used all the same actors who were like early 20s when Wet Hot American Summer was made? They're obviously in their 40s now. They're still playing early 20s, and like it's just one of those gags just through the entire thing. Is
That's
like
awesome.
obviously Michael Showalter is not a teenager, but he's acting like a teenager. He's in his mid-40s. It's fun. Other upcoming things: In Search of Darkness 1995 to 1999 just dropped a trailer. I've watched every one of those In Search of Darkness movies. They're a lot of fun. They're a great thing to throw on in the background and just kind of keep a notepad handy so that you can write down all the movies that you haven't seen or even heard of. But this will be for the late 90s. So, Scream and all that kind of stuff will be represented this time.
That is a rough time for horror movies.
It's I really appreciated the first of the In Search of Darkness 90s versions because there was 3 in the 80s, and then they just made the 1990 through 1994 recently. And I appreciate it because there's a lot of movies that I had overlooked because it was the early 90s and there just wasn't as much good stuff. I was too busy digging through the 70s,
There's definitely a lot of good 90s horror movies, but I think because of the CGI rush, a lot of people leaned on that way too much.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Wasn't ready for that kind of thing.
You kind of have to dig a little bit more, and you find some that aren't great movies, but still are a lot more fun than they should be. Like Wishmaster is one I watched for the first time a couple of years ago. That's got K&B effects, so Greg Nicotero doing his thing again, and it's a lot of fun. Wishmaster 2, all CGI terrible. So it's there was a lot more digging had to be done to find something good that's new.
But that'll probably make this edition of In Search of Darkness a little more interesting to find more hidden gems.
I think so. We also get a trailer for Bambi the Reckoning, which is another one of these public domain ones. It's got there's a picture of a sharp-toothed deer. There's a trailer. I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about any of these anymore. There's a lot of them.
Hey, if people enjoy them, knock yourself out. I don't think they're my cup of tea. Although I heard the Peter Pan one is good. I heard the Peter Pan one's fun.
I've heard that. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet.
I like the Grinch one. That was fun, but yeah.
The Grinch one was pretty
the
fun.
mean one?
Yeah.
And I like Blood and Honey 2. Blood and Honey 2 was actually a lot of fun. Blood and Honey 1 was not much fun, but 2 really was. One more little piece of news. I don't guess it's really news. It's just a interview that I learned something that made me angry. Interview with Eli Craig, the guy who directed the new Clown in the Cornfield movie. He also directed Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
No.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a Tucker and Dale 2. That didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And they were also supposed to have a Tucker and Dale series. It was in development. It was getting close. And it was killed off by David Zaslav, the head of Warner Brothers, the same guy who killed the Batgirl movie, who killed Coyote versus Acme for tax write-offs. The biggest villain in movies today, I think, is David Zaslav. And
he killed WCW Wrestling.
Tucker and Dale, the series.
He killed WCW, the wrestling company, too. Pulled the plug on them.
He just cancels things. That's his job, apparently. It's just to cancel things. So
he's a dick.
So that sucks because I would have loved more Tucker and Dale. It's still one of my favorites. But yeah.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
I would have loved more.
There's so many movies that after Shaun of the Dead had his big success, there's so many like American that kind of like opened the floodgates to these horror comedies. And so many were called like, oh, the American Shaun of the Dead, the Australian Shaun of the Dead. This is the only one I think lived up to that title because people did call it that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I fucking love that movie.
If you've never seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil, you absolutely should. It's so much fun. It's great performances from everybody, but just the whole thing is so funny and bloody, and I love it. It's great.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that like really came and went as far as like the theater and promotion, but like it's had such a word of mouth still going strong on that.
And there's still hope for a part 2. Eli Craig did say that there's still hope out there. I think Clown in the Cornfield is doing really well at the box office right now. So who knows? Maybe they'll throw some money his way and let him do it.
Hey, fingers crossed.
Nice.
And that's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Jody. Before we wrap up, we have some questions. We have a couple zombie questions, and we have some very random questions. So the first,
talk about
how we kind of roll these together.
So real fast, I'm looking at this picture of Bub on our screen. You guys can't see it if you're just listening on audio, but For the record, he does have better skin than Donald Trump. I'm just saying.
Right.
Donald
Speaking
Trump
of
was talking
zombies,
shit about Bruce Springsteen's skin. He's a fucking moron.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry.
So our zombie question is favorite zombie movie and slow running zombies or fast running zombies?
That's a tough one.
I'll start us off. Probably my favorite zombie movie is Shaun of the Dead because it is a great zombie movie, but it's also funny as hell. I love British comedy, and there's just so many random references when they yell, "We're coming to get you, Barbara." You know, there's Evil Dead references. Like these are like true horror fans, you know, making a great movie. My one B, just because it still scares the crap out of me, is 20 Days Later. That movie is terrifying.
Still never.
Now, as far as the slow versus fast, I think fast zombies are obviously scarier, but I think I prefer slow zombies. There's just something more like emotional and melancholy about that, and kind of I don't know. It disturbs me on that higher level.
I'm with you because it's like the slow inevitability of death. Whereas the sudden zombie jumping on you and killing you, like I don't think you have time to even process what's happening. Whereas when you're like, there's a great scene in Day of the Dead where the soldier he realizes he's overwhelmed and then just shoots himself in the mouth and kills himself.
Yeah.
And because it's that slow inevitability of like, you know, you're gonna die now, and he's even shaking while it's happening. I thought that was actually really well done. So I'm all about slow zombies. Nothing wrong with fast ones. I just think slow ones are actually scarier.
Yeah, I would never be one of those like zombies can't be fast. They can be whatever they want, but yeah, that's a preference.
I think it's a different vibe too, because when you've got the slow zombies, it's that like dread of them like coming and the hordes of them. The fast zombies are just, you know, terrifying, like beast or animals or something that are chasing after you.
In video games, the fast ones are scarier, although I'll also say that.
Yeah, that's true.
And a favorite zombie movie, I have to say, God damn it, I'm gonna say it again, The Beyond, because there are zombies at the end of that movie, so I have to go with that. So it's like my favorite horror movie of all time. But what's funny, Jason, when you first asked the question, my other immediate thought was also I love Lucio Fulci's Zombie, which was Zombie 2, and or Zombie Flesh Eaters, depending on where you lived. And it's Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, Shaun of the Dead, without question, is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, I think probably my favorite, and I had to think about this for a minute, but I think Train to Busan is my current favorite.
Oh, dude. Yeah,
that movie is so good. It's fast zombies, but it's so emotional. I cry when I watch Train to Busan.
Oh, me too.
Every single time.
Yep. My first watch was my first watch was during Joe Bob, and I did not expect to be in tears at the end of it. Like,
it's scary, it's emotional, it's well acted. I love Train to Busan.
Well, they really use the zombies as a way to push the plot forward. Well, the movie's not about the zombies; it's about these people, the dad and his daughter, and them basically surviving this catastrophic event. And God, it's so fucking good.
It's so good. And zombies also really lend themselves to horror comedies too. I like a lot of zombie comedies, like Shaun of the Dead. I also really like Anna and the Apocalypse, which is musical zombie comedy.
I didn't like that one. I tried. Could not get into
it. The first time I watched it, it was like a 2.5-star movie for me. I've watched it 2 or 3 times since then. It's like a classic now for me. I absolutely love it now. So it's worth giving another watch if you didn't like it the first time.
Warm Bodies. Have you guys seen that one? It's like a zombie rom-com.
Yeah, that was really. I like that a lot.
That was really good.
Does Cooties count as a zombie movie? I think Cooties, I would say, is a zombie movie because they eat those diseased chicken nuggets and alternative flesh eaters. I love Cooties. It's a
Cooties is a lot of fun. There's one more I had on the back of my brain. I just forgot it too. That I really enjoyed. So no one get to hear that now because I'm not gonna be able to remember it.
And I'll give a shout out to the Dawn of the Dead remake. It's really good.
Oh yeah,
without question.
For a remake, it's definitely on the list of like best remakes.
That opening scene with the Richard Cheese version of the Get Down with the Sickness and the zombies and the like lounge music, I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, and then they do another scene in the middle where they're shooting the zombies on the rooftop. The movie I was thinking of too that I thought was a really unique take on the zombie genre was Fido.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
If you guys haven't seen that was a really fun one, I thought.
There's a James McAvoy zombie movie. I think it's James McAvoy. No, Martin Freeman. I can't remember anything about it off my head. Where like he's a father, he's trying to save his daughter, but he gets bit by a zombie, so he knows he's going to turn. So he has to like find these ways to like get him. It's like it's such a tearjerker.
Cargo.
Yeah. Oh, if you want a heart-wrenching zombie movie, it's really good. But oof, it's
I've
rough.
never seen that one. I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah. All right. Now to our random questions, because we have some sick fucks as our listeners. Sex with furniture. What do you think about it?
I mean, like, there's so many better ways to have sex than with furniture. So, you know what? If you're listening out there and you're 13, go fuck everything in your house. Who cares? But like, if you're an adult, there are better things you could be doing with your time than
as long as there's consent.
Now, when we say with furniture, we talking that being the other part, or as a additional item involved in the
You know what they mean. They mean taking
I know
your.
what they mean. I'm thinking of JD Vance right now, and we're all thinking of JD Vance now.
I wish he'd just own it. I wish he'd be like, yeah, when I was like 15, I fucked a couch. I'm gonna be like, oh, okay. And it would just die.
Oh man. All right. Someone else wrote, give us a fuck, marry, kill. I love fuck, marry, kill questions. So please send us more. Chicken, beef, or pork?
Okay. Now I have questions.
Yes. Yeah.
When we say fuck, are we saying like the dead flesh, or like the animal itself? Because I'm not okay with the animal itself. I'm not going to answer the question.
Okay.
The animal itself.
When I'm more thinking like more like as a metaphor, like do you want to get rid of one? Do you want to be like with one consistently, or do you want one that's kind of your like exciting?
Oh, okay.
That's how I don't think I don't think it like literally gonna fuck a chicken, but
okay.
You can answer it however you want.
This isn't some Black Mirror shit, but like the one thing I would marry, because it's probably the best for me, even though it's not my favorite, is chicken. Because chicken is probably the best of those meats for you. But I love steak, so steak would be my fuck. And then my kill would be pork. Even though I do enjoy pork, I probably enjoy the least of those meats. And I know that kills bacon for me.
Yeah, I was just thinking all the things that are on that list.
Sausage, but I want my steak, and I need my chicken for health reasons. So that's where I got to be at.
Yeah, I'm with Mondo. You can do so many things with chicken that it's gotta be your main.
Like, what things can you do with chicken?
You can fry it, you can grill it, you can smoke it. Beef, yeah, I love my brisket, my ribs, my steaks. And then it's funny because as someone who's Jewish, I didn't really eat much pork until the last couple of years, I'll say. But you can do more or less whatever.
Pork ribs are so much better than beef ribs, though. I just got to say that there's no comparison. No, there's no comparison.
Beef short ribs. I love beef short ribs.
They're good. Don't get me wrong, but pork ribs are better.
I'm having a lot of trouble with this question because I live in the South, and pork is very important to my people. Besides the bacon and the sausage, there's also the big pork. I love like a big, thick pork chop. Barbecue, pulled pork barbecue. I mean, I think I got to marry pork. I just think when it comes down to it, I got my heart wants what it wants.
Your heart can want, yeah. Thank you.
But now when it comes to the other ones, I killed beef.
What you gonna kill?
Chicken. That's bad. Both of them. I think of the two, if you want to have a nasty night, you're gonna get steak, not a chicken sandwich. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to kill the chicken, even though I don't want to. I don't want to make this choice. I want to have a polygamous relationship with pork and chicken.
If you're gonna kill the chicken, would you choke it?
Hey.
I try to turn that no one under the age of 30 understands what it's.
Yeah. Schnitzel's pork. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, no, you can do.
That's great.
You can do schnitzel without any of those meats, to be honest.
Without any of those meats, veal or something. If you want to kill some baby cows, I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can use any meat for schnitzel, but pork schnitzel is my go-to.
I think that's the one I
You can
haven't
also
had.
bread a pork chop, or you can grill a pork. Ah, man, now I'm hungry. I'm trying to figure out what I can eat after this.
Well,
Pepperoni,
my wife's,
pepperoni or pork.
you can get turkey pepperoni, I guess.
I know they exist,
Yeah.
but
And turkey bacon, which I'm just rolling my eyes at because it exists. It's a thing.
it
I get
exists,
it.
and I've eaten it. It's okay.
I
It's fine.
literally eat breakfast only on the weekends. So that's like my excitement for the weekend. I get to have my bacon.
See, I'm not a breakfast eater at breakfast time, but man, breakfast for dinner, top notch.
Oh,
Love
me
it. It's
either.
the
Like,
best time to eat breakfast.
like my Saturdays are always I go to the gym, run the errands I have to. I get home around 1 or 2, and that's when I eat my breakfast. So to say, because I'm breaking my fast.
You know, I'm just thinking,
Nice.
like at nighttime for dinner, sitting down, you got bacon and eggs and hash brown. Like that's a perfect
Oh,
dinner. I love it.
Breakfast for dinner is awesome, and there's a great King of the Hill gag. This isn't horror news, by the way. King of the Hill has officially released a poster.
Yes.
Hulu
know,
has
it's
for the reboot, and there is a great one where Bobby tells Hank, he goes, "Dad, remember that time we had breakfast for dinner?" And Hank goes, "Never again." In true Hank Hill fashion.
All right. Another question from our good friend Matt, the Storytime guy. He asked, "Did it hurt when you fell from heaven, you beautiful angels?"
You know who else fell from heaven? Lucifer. So I'll take it.
Yeah.
What about Jesus
All right.
Christ bottle?
Our last. There we go. All right. Our last question of the night. If you could see one cryptid in the wild, which would it be?
Bigfoot.
Easy answer for me. It'd be Bigfoot. 100%. I 100% believe Bigfoot's out there and exists, and I'd like to meet him for 3 seconds before he rips my arms off and beats me to death with them.
I've been looking for Bigfoot since I was like 6, and I first discovered like the little monster books in my school library. Like, yeah,
Man, I listened to a radio show called After Dark, and it's actually what's funny. It's a pro wrestling podcaster I've been listening to since 2005, and he loves cryptids and loves like the paranormal. So he does an After Dark radio show, and he has a lot of guests on there that talk about Bigfoot. And the theories out there are just crazy and amazing. And there's a lot of belief now that it actually is an extraterrestrial being. That kind of got trapped here, and that's why it's so good at evading technology, because it's in tune with technology and can hear a camera. That's what they think. That's why they think they can hide from them. But the wilderness is so vast that there could be something out there.
I like the theory of the interdimensional Bigfoot that just kind of phases in and out of reality.
Yeah,
that's why you don't see him, because sometimes he's here and sometimes he's not.
That'd be the one I need to know exists.
My answer is Loch Ness.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with Loch Ness though is
it seems like a gentle.
But they've proven that there's no way a being that big could survive in that small of a body of water.
Well, any body of water. But the point is, I can be on the land. Loch Ness is out there. I'm just waving high. He's waving back. We're all having a good time.
I like that mentality.
I forget that we have such different experiences, that the woods are literally like 20 feet out my back door. So like we interact with the creatures.
You guys should start like a Sasquatch. You guys should have changed the Christmas the Christmas tradition to where you leave like a steak and fries out for Bigfoot on Bigfoot Eve or Sasquatch Eve.
If I had to pick something other than Bigfoot, though, I'm going to say Mothman, just because I love the way that Mothman looks and all of the depictions with his big red eyes. It's good stuff.
I love the fucking, like, when people do the horny Mothman memes. He's got like this dump truck of an ass and shit like
official statue in the town where he was supposedly seen is like got cake.
Yeah, like I think what's interesting about cryptids is that at one point everything was a cryptid.
Yeah.
Like some guy, I don't know when the giraffe was first discovered, was like, "You'll never believe what I saw. I saw this horse with a long neck and some nubs on his head." And people are like, "Shut up, Jeffrey. That doesn't exist." And then now it's a thing. But there was a really cool there's a Reddit thread that I went down a rabbit hole on some websites where they talk about all the things that were like cryptid lore back from like the 1800s, the 1700s, and then we discovered them as animals. Mm-hmm. And I think realistically, like, there's so much out. Like every year we discover, if you look into it, every year we discover like hundreds, if not thousands, of new species of be it insects, be it whatever, or like just things that we thought, oh, it's a coyote, and realize, oh no, it's got a genetic mutation, or it's not a coyote, it's something different. So a lot of these are in the realm of possibility for sure. Loch Ness is the one that I wish was true because I love dinosaurs still, but scientists have disproven that could live in that small of a body of water, a creature that big. But realistically, when you think about it, like, I don't know if Bigfoot exists, but I truly believe if anything exists, it's probably him or her. And the Patterson-Gimlin film, the famous one with Bigfoot walking through the forest, they have never been able to disprove the validity of that, because when you think about when that was filmed and when it came out, there was no prosthetics, no special effects that could recreate, that could make a suit that the muscles were twitching in and stuff like that. Plus, they gave it like reproductive nipples. They gave it nipples. Like, who the fuck would think that far ahead? You can see I've read about this before, and I kind of enjoy this. But
yeah, I'm loving this. We're going deep on it.
My wife is just like sneaking into the room for a minute, right when you talked about athletic nipples or prosthetic nipples,
reproductive nipples.
Reproductive.
There you go.
Does that mean Batman? Wait, does that mean Batman's real?
That's exactly what I was thinking. It took us till the 90s to be able to develop nipple technologies for suits.
But the Patterson-Gimlin film, though, if you watch, there's a lot of people who've tried to disprove it, and when I say try to disprove it, not it to be like, I think with anything that's kind of questionable evidence, you have to try to disprove it in order to prove it. Like, you have to go through this whole list and make sure, but no one's been able to really do it, and that's what's kind of crazy to me, is that film exists. And they 100, and a lot of people who really spent a lot of research on Bigfoot have said that it's because they're using such old technology at the time that wasn't something that he could detect.
Oh, okay. I like that theory.
And there are a lot of people that are into Bigfoot research. I say there's a lot of other evidence that they just don't release to the general public, that are kind of kept in these small circles because they feel that like they get laughed at when they release it, even if it's authentic. So they say, why am I going to release something that people are just going to laugh at when I can just keep it amongst other people who kind of believe in this stuff? So I've always really wanted to go to, because they do Bigfoot conventions, I've always really wanted to go to one and see like some of this cool stuff. So I'm a big believer in
Mondo wants them to release the Bigfoot files,
dude. Like so there's also really interesting stuff about national parks and about how people disappear at national parks, and it doesn't really ever get investigated and reported. And there are people that think the government knows that some of these cryptids exist, and that's why there's certain areas of parks that are closed off. And if you kind of go in that area and you get killed, it's like, well, the Jersey Devil ate him, and that's what happens. I mean, I don't know if that's, I'm not going to go down that conspiracy theory rabbit hole, because again, that's for guys in fucking trucks that have nothing better to do. But I do think there's a lot of fun, real information out there. There's a lot of fun theories, I'll say.
So we said we want to, do you all actually want to see something? So I would love to see. I want to see something mysterious. I want to see something I can't explain. 100%.
Like after so being, I think I've talked about living in a haunted house before and seeing things I couldn't explain. I don't want to say it was that scary.
Yeah,
I want to say it was very interesting as to what I was seeing that I couldn't explain. To this day, I can't explain. Does it give me goosebumps when I think about it? My skin crawl sometimes, yeah. But I'm also like, I was kind of cool that I got to see some of this stuff. So yes, I would 100%, even if it meant my doom, just know I went out doing what I loved, which is getting my limbs ripped off and being beaten to death with them.
I still look at the sky. I'm still looking for UFOs. So, I want to see something. I want to see something that blows my mind.
Have you heard about the alien sighting that happened in Vegas like 3 or 4 years ago?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fucking terrifying when you dig into it, and how the cops actually thought it was an alien too. And they found like parts of the video which were not doctored, which they can't explain why it looks different from the rest of the video, because they think it was using a cloaking device, because it actually looks very similar to modern cloaking devices that the government has experimented with. If you guys want something just fun to look at the Las Vegas alien sightings or whatever that happened back in I think it was 2001.
This is my first horror love was cryptids, and then it moved on to movie monsters. So yeah,
me too, Jody. Man after my own heart. Yeah.
All right.
And to think we discovered everything out there. Do you remember the giant squid was a cryptid up until like 6-7 years ago? We actually discovered it.
They just got the first one on video, like last week or something like that. They got a baby on video.
Colossal squid. That was a colossal squid, even bigger than a giant squid. Yeah,
craziness. Like we've
unlocked the whole rabbit hole. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I could talk about cryptids for a while. Like if we want to do a spin-off Bigfoot episode, I'd be down.
Yeah.
We can watch a bunch of Bigfoot friend. Movies. I can't remember her name, but one of a friend of Caitlin Grant's, who's on Plug It Up a whole bunch. She has a My Cryptid Keeper podcast, so I recommend that.
Oh, I haven't heard of that. I'll check it out.
I don't know if she was doing a while ago. I can't remember if she's still doing that. Anyways, as far as Dads from the Crypt goes, that wraps up another episode. We thank everyone for listening. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate it if you give us a rating review on iTunes, a rating in Spotify, like and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us at Dads from the Crypt Talk on TikTok.
And if you write a review,
thank you for listening too.
Hold on, Jason, if you write a review and send it into us, you will get an entry into our contest. Get yourself a Fright Rags gift card. They're an awesome company. We're not just saying that because we're giving away gift cards, but I have spent a lot of money with Fright Rags.
Me too.
Yes. All right. Thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.